very, very warm welcome to you. You're listening to The Music Business Buddy with me, Johnny Amos, podcasting out of Birmingham in England. I'm the author of the book, The Music Business for Music Creators, available in hardback, paperback and ebook format. I'm a music creator with a variety of credits as a writer-producer. I'm also a consultant, an artist manager and a senior lecturer in both music creation and music business. Wherever you are and whatever you do, consider yourself welcome to this podcast and to a part of the community around it. I'm here to try and educate and inspire music creators from all over the world in their quest to achieving their goals by gaining a greater understanding of the business of music. Okay, so in this week's podcast, I am interviewing David Ronan, who's the CEO of Roex Audio. So if you've never heard of Roex Audio before, they are an AI-powered mix and mastering service. They say you can unlock studio quality sound with intelligent audio tools. Get a professional, balanced, AI-powered mix in minutes. Guys, I'll level with you. I've tested it out and it's really, really good. One of the things to kind of think about when it comes to AI services, and I know one of the fears out there sometimes can be, well, is this something which replaces humans? No, it's not. It's something that assists humans. And I think that's a very important thing to try and remember here. Is it designed for people that can't mix music but that want their music mixed? Yes, but it's also designed for people that do mix music and need some kind of time-saving preparation stuff done before they actually get into the creative part of the mix process. That's a big part of any mix engineer, right, is the mix prep process. And this does that. Some of those kind of tasks on an AI level are in a much quicker rate than a human mind could. So I'm going to hand over to the interview between myself and Dave, and hopefully you enjoy it. You'll see he's a really, really nice guy. My goodness me, he knows his onions when it comes to AI, when it comes to music production, technology, where it's all headed, what it could look like next as well. I shall hand over now. Okay, enjoy this. So, David, welcome to the Music Business Buddy. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and I'm glad that we're finally here doing this. First and foremost, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No, it's good. I'm glad you're here, mate. So, Dave, let's start by understanding, the Roex product line, right? So so tell me if I've got any of this wrong, mate. Okay, so there's Mix Check Studio, and then there's Automix, right? So Mix Check Studio is kind of free to access for music creators wanting to understand what could be improved in their mix or in their mix and mastered track. And then Automix will actually run the mix itself. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much at a high level. Yeah, that's it. I can go a bit deeper on both if you want. And then I can give you a quick overview of the company as well, if that helps.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I suppose, so I'm the founder and CEO of Roex. At a very high level, what we do is we build intelligent audio production tools for musicians, essentially to give them the confidence they need to release their music. But more specifically, that's AI-driven tools for multi-track mixing, mastering, mix analysis, mix cleanup, mix restoration, basically any of the technical challenges that come with music or kind of audio production. We probably have a tool that can help you along your way. And as you mentioned, we have two kind of products in our line. So we have Mix Check Studio, which is it's probably the first one we officially launched. And what it is essentially anyone can come along and use this for free, basically, to come along, upload their mixed or mastered track. We'll analyze it. We'll tell you what's wrong with it. And then we'll tell you how to fix it, basically, in your DAW. And actually what it means for your music as well is if you don't fix it, because obviously you don't want to send something off to Spotify and it's not sounding great. So that bit's free. It always will be free as long as Roex is around. We've also recently introduced a paid feature for that. So for £5, basically, we can take the problems that we found, we can fix them to the best of our ability, and then we can also remix and master your track as well. So if you have stuff from that was for me is perfect. I had stuff from 20 years ago. That I made when I didn't really have a clue what I was doing, and I was able to kind of essentially remix them and remaster, and they sound a lot better now. So that's essentially Mix Check Studio. So that's a very simple tool, and the idea is that anyone, so if you don't have the stems, which a lot of people don't, or maybe you don't really know how to use a DAW, need something recorded at home, we can basically bring it back to life essentially.
Do you do can you do like group stem separation and stuff as well?
Yeah, so that's how it works actually is we do stem separation and split it out into bass, drums, vocals, and everything else. And then we apply processing, like we have modeled all these kind of fancy compressors and fancy EQs, and basically remix it using our technology that we have for mixing, which I can talk about in a sec, and put it back together again. And then if you have the option to master it as well if you need it. So essentially, so it makes it very easy for anyone. If you just don't, all you have is a stereo WAV or whatever MP3, we can basically fix it for you and make it sound better.
That's amazing. Wow. That's sorry, I just want to pause for a minute, Dave, because that is
no problem.
It's so mind-boggling, isn't it? Like we're casually sat here talking about something which would have been completely unfathomable when you and I first entered this game, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean,
yeah.
That's amazing. Do you know? I'm thinking out loud here, but I'm just thinking that. Okay, in addition to all of those things, there's also a lot of people out there that do a lot of remote recording on platforms like Sound Better, Air Gigs, that kind of thing. And it's something that we've been talking about on the podcast recently, the growth in the sort of creator economy and remote marketplace work. I'm just thinking that actually what you've built there would apply itself not only on a mix level, but also on a restorative or repair level for people like, let's say, for example, someone recording vocals in their bedroom and go, right, how do I make this sound better?
Yeah. So actually,
it would work for that.
It would to a certain extent, but you would, if you have the individual recordings, like the stems, you'd be better off using our other platform, which is Automix. So yeah, I could just tell you about that. Obviously, probably a good way to get time.
Automix. Sorry, I meant for Automix. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of like, go, there's my files. Make them better. That's that for Automix. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have like your multi-track recording, so essentially you have your vocals. You have your bass, guitar, drums, synths, whatever it is you do. It doesn't matter what genre it is. With this other platform we have, you can come along, you can upload those, and you provide some very basic mix settings, like which is the most important track in the song. Usually it's the lead vocal, the instrument type, if there's like a panning preference you want to have it in the left or the right, whatever, or if you want some reverb added. But we also actually have this ability as well, so if you've recorded your vocals in kind of less than ideal recording conditions, like maybe you're using your phone in the park to record the vocals, we can actually take that and clean it up and remove kind of all the background noise. So essentially, because the thing about a mix is like it's garbage in, garbage out. So the better the signals, the audio signals going into it, the better your eventual final mix will be. So we've also got stuff in there as well. So if it's a live band recording, we can actually remove the microphone bleed and all the kind of the rest of the stuff that you might have, like challenges you might have with a live recording. So essentially we can give you back so the idea being that like we can give you back a mixed and mastered track back in minutes instead of days at very low cost. So we can mix up the 32 channels of audio and combine them, balance all the tracks out and kind of combine together to give you a really nice mix. And actually the beauty of what we launched a kind of an extra feature there just after Christmas. So not only can you just download it as a final WAV, MP3 or FLAC or whatever it is you want, you can actually download it as an Ableton Live project file. So what I mean by that is,
really?
Yeah. So what we'll have done is we'll take your unprocessed audio, put it into an Ableton Live project file, but we'll then configure Ableton as if it's been mixed, if you know what I mean. So essentially we've set the EQs, we've set the compressors, we've set all of the volumes and faders. So then you can basically download it, open up your Ableton project file, and you have a mix there ready. So like you just basically need to tweak stuff if you want, or else you add your creative stuff on top. We've done that now for Bitwig, PreSonus Studio One, and Cubase as well. So and we're expanding into as many DAWs basically as possible.
I didn't know about that.
And the beauty of that is like it's because it's fully then at that
That's
point
phenomenal.
Like you can just bounce it out if you're happy with it, or you can tweak it. So it's very assistive at that point. You know what I mean? It's getting you to the 90% point, and then you can do what you want on top of that, basically.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Okay, so that's giving me a load more questions now. Okay, so that's brilliant. So I guess then in that case, when let's say people go, right, yeah, I'm really happy with this, let me go and download my Ableton project file or my Cubase file, they'll be able to see what's actually been done This
Exactly.
EQ's done this compressor's done that, and it's all using like the native plugins within that DAW.
Yes, it's using the stock plugins. And yeah, as you said, like the beauty is that you can learn from this. You can see. Actually, that's the other thing I must say as well. In the app, we do an actual kind of readout and go, look, this is what we did to your bass guitar. This is what we did to your drums. Very high level stuff, not like super detailed. Like this at this frequency I did this. But you can see what's been done in the DAW. So you can kind of like, oh, right, I can see why they boosted the bass or why they did it at that frequency. So it's quite educational for people who want to learn.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Do you know? It's just making me think something else as well. The fear very often amongst many music creators, amongst many people, I suppose, when it comes to AI. Just is this going to replace us? I'm just thinking out loud here again, Dave. But I'm thinking actually, rather than this become something that kind of replaces a mix engineer, it actually could become something that assists a mix engineer. Because as we all know, as mix engineers, there's a lot of prep work, right? Yes. There's a lot of restoration, balancing, all that kind of stuff. And actually, to use this, you mentioned about that final 10% there, which perhaps is where
artistry.
that sort of uniqueness.
Yeah,
the artistry. You're not taking that away. You're just taking away the stuff that came before it that takes hours.
Yeah, it's like it basically like the system we have. It doesn't do anything creative. It's very mechanical. It's like it does the corrective mixing. It's called the technical term. It's just basically EQing out the bad stuff, getting the levels kind of vaguely or not vaguely correct, but correct enough that you're in the ballpark essentially, and you can tweak it. So then it's at that point like, okay, I want to add, some flange, or I want to add like chorus or whatever, and make it sound more like me, and this is my unique style, maybe a bit of saturation, whatever. And it doesn't take away from that. In fact, it gives you more time to experiment with the fun stuff, essentially. It just takes care of the mechanical, boring stuff. Yeah. So if you're a professional, think about it this way. Yeah. You're I don't know, you're on Fiverr and you sell your services. Maybe you're doing 10 mixes a week. Now suddenly you can click a button that gets you 90% of the way there on the mix, and then you can spend more time making it sound like you. Maybe now you could do 20 mixes per week because you've just saved so much time on all the prep work effectively.
Yeah, totally. Wow. God, that's amazing. So staying on Automix then, so it has the ability obviously to save time, as we've talked about there, but also perhaps even reduce some of the costs of the kind of the premium plugin kind of mix software that people would not have to outlay on because they're getting it from you. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean we've obviously designed our own EQs, compressors, all that kind of good stuff, and then we've taken it one step further. Like we love like old gear as well. We've like models like the old LA28 compressors. We've models the Pultec EQ, which are kind of like go-to audio effects that like professionals would use. So yeah, you don't really have to buy them. I mean, you could buy them if you want to like add, a particular sound of them to your mix or whatever. But like in terms of like making things sound good, like we have all that stuff basically. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on plugins. Yeah. I mean, I personally love buying plugins, but some people might not necessarily have the money or might not have interest in it. You know what I mean? So they just want to. If they come from a very creative background, they don't really care about the technical differences between different EQs and compressors, you know what I mean? And they just want it to sound good effectively, and that's kind of where we fill that gap.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, this fills such a void for so many music creators, that just that ability to I can't even put a number. I wouldn't even begin to know where to put a number on the amount of music creators that come to me that say, I've got this project, I've this song, it means everything to me. It's good. I just can't quite get it to that extra, and I'll go, it's a mix thing. And they go, I know it's a mix thing. And then, they might bring in, this mix engineer. It hasn't really worked out. They didn't get it. They threw too much of themselves into it or whatever. And actually, very often in those kind of cases, it's not necessarily that they need I'm going to say it, a human here, right? Because they really just need an enhanced version of what they've already created as opposed to a new person to come in and kind of command a new direction on it. There are so many people that fit that bill, and this is kind of the answer for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just essentially it gets you, as I said, to the 90% point, and then after that it's like just you tweaking basically. You're already at a good point where it sounds good, and it's just a case of like, okay, perfect example would be like the vocal could be a bit louder because I love, I want to hear my voice more. And you just have to, your granny could adjust the volume on something, you know what I mean? It's very easy to kind of boost and cut vocals essentially. So when it gets to that point where like you're not really having to make the big decisions, it's just minor tweaks just to kind of get it kind of honed into, essentially where you want it to be.
Yeah, totally. And it is a lot of the sort of time-consuming, more sort of boring tasks, right? That kind of take up a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean,
for many mix engineers.
Exactly. I mean, I remember like when I was learning to mix and master, and like the first thing you do is like you learn to roll off certain frequencies and certain tracks and all this kind of like very mechanical, not mechanical, yeah, it is very mechanical kind of like standard techniques that you need to do. And I was like, surely you could automate this, you know what I mean? Because if you do this in every mix regardless. So, it does a lot of that stuff, which is kind of, it just takes time, obviously, until it takes time before the part where you want to actually kind of like, it's the fun stuff effectively, so.
Well, yeah, totally. Well, let's understand a little bit more about your background, because I've done some reading up on you, Dave. And you studied your PhD under Professor John Rice, who was one of the founders of LANDR, and then you also worked at Native Instruments during your PhD. That must have been a pretty eye-opening kind of experience for your like academic and professional life.
Yeah. So it all kind of started. I did a master's in music tech, and then before that, I did math and stuff like that. But I came back to do. Yeah, I started my PhD in 2013. It's Josh Rice. He was one of the original founders of LANDR. And I'm trying to remember. I think at the start it was just starting to kick off around then, 2013. So right. What was interesting for me then, as kind of on my journey, was like seeing Josh start LANDR and being around that and seeing how that kind of unfolded, I guess, because startups, like all that kind of startup stuff, was new to me. I think that was quite interesting. But then having the ability in the middle to take a break, so I took a pause in the middle of my PhD to go work at Native Instruments in Berlin. And I think for me, I'd spent like maybe a year and a half doing a lot of theory and kind of learning about machine learning and AI and all that kind of good stuff. But it was there that I got to apply it and learn from people who were already working in the field. And I got to live in Berlin as well, which I would consider my spiritual home at this point. Love visiting the place. But yeah, that was amazing. Just the amount of stuff that I learned, the amount of synthesizers I got to play with, and just the amount of good music I got to do, like living in Berlin. But yeah, it was really eye opening, and it kind of like I kind of knew then. I was like, okay, I need to obviously stay and work within the kind of music tech industry, and and then I had to go back and finish my PhD, which was tough leaving Berlin, but obviously it was worth it in the end. So yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. That's so. I mean, what was it like at Native Instruments? What kind of place was that like to work at?
Really good, really great work culture and environment. Because I was working for in the research team. So I think like Marta Gallic would have been kind of the over boss or the kind of main boss of that group, and another guy called Egbert Jürgen. So they would have been the founders of Native. So working quite close with the founders, which was awesome. Just working with like really super smart people in like DSP. There was one guy who was an astrophysicist, but like applying all his kind of astrophysics stuff to like signal processing and synthesizers and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just, you meet some awesome characters. Tim Exile used to work there as well. I met him a few times. But I think the beauty of it was like everyone working there was just so passionate about music creation, music tech, nerding out on synths. So like going to work was never a chore. It was just like going to hang out with, very like-minded individuals who were just as excited as you are about stuff. And then they're obviously at the same time very into music. So, at the weekends you'd be going out with gigs, and work never felt like a chore. And I think there was just a really good work culture there as well, because like everyone was very collaborative. It was just a nice office surrounding to place to work. And yeah, I just learned a ton because everyone's just really engaged, And I definitely like taken the culture that I learned there. I think I've tried to, everywhere I've worked since, I've tried to kind of spread that kind of way to work, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's. I really enjoyed your answer there, Dave, because it reminded me of something. Several years ago, I was interviewing the late great Jeff Emerick, who engineered at Abbey Road. Including the Abbey Road record for the Beatles. This was he sadly died a few years ago. It's about 10 years or so ago I met him, and I said to him, well, what was it like, working at Abbey Road at that time,
Yeah.
and he said, I know you want to hear great stories, he said, but it wasn't a very nice place to work. I said, oh. And I was like, I wish I hadn't asked you now.
Yeah.
Just very
Don't meet your
sterile,
heroes.
You got, all that, And it was like, you got the brown jackets, you got the white jackets, you got the janitors, you got the tape engineers. They don't eat together, they don't talk. When the bands come in, it's very like. I was like, oh God, and I was thinking, oh, I really wish I hadn't. And then when I asked you that, then I was like, oh, please give me a nice answer. So I'm really pleased to hear that it is exactly how people might imagine it. So talking of research, you also have I got this right? Did you work as the head of research at AI Music?
Yes, yeah. So that was my first gig after PhD, basically. Coming to the end, I was looking for obviously something to do. I was considering going back to Berlin, but then AI Music popped up, and just the project sounded really exciting, and I was the head of research there for 4.5 years.
Sorry. So was that before Apple acquired AI?
Yeah. So essentially, I was finished PhD, started there part-time initially for like a month or two, and then I went full-time as the head of R&D, head of research, or whatever you want to call it. So it was like the size of the company was fluctuated between 17 to 20 people thereabouts. The first year of it was kind of like very exploratory, kind of figuring out what we were going to do. Like adaptive music essentially was what we were working on. Being able to essentially have a system where you can go, okay, I want a 45-second house track in the key of A minor that's 150 BPM, and I want the drop to come in at 22 seconds, and I want different variations of it. And we basically, that's the system we built effectively. So you could basically adapt music to any kind of situation. So it was kind of, the immediate use case was kind of like advertising, because we generated the music, there was no licensing problems. Like basically you're not paying for a license, you have to speak to the rights holders, that kind of things, because we owned all the content. But the beauty of what we were doing was none of the music we used AI to essentially stitch the music together and figure out the best kind of combinations of harmonically related kind of music, kind of samples together. So it wasn't. So we had a team of music producers who were creating music for us. The beauty of that was retained the human element of it. Like, so it wasn't just generated from scratch, which I think a lot of companies were doing at the time. They were like they had like AI models for composition, so they'd learn kind of composition rules and whatnot. This is different. So I think that was what made the music sound so good. I think because it had that, it was well produced already, and it was just a case of like us kind of reimagining it in different kind of contexts, so like different genres, different moods, that kind of thing.
So in that scenario, it was trained rather than doing that whole scraping thing and grabbing things. It was like music creators that kind of put together and then used AI to put together the ideas that they'd started to then become customized to request.
Pretty much, yeah, that was it. So that was the only training was like on the algorithms we used to figure out like which is the best harmonically related or that kind of stuff together. It was more kind of that understanding that side of kind of music theory and things like that. And then obviously stuff needed to be mixed, and stuff needed to sound like the whole conveyor belt of music production basically for this kind of stuff. Yeah, it was awesome. It was fun.
Yeah.
4.5 years. So yeah, it was quite the journey. And then ultimately it was very successful. We got acquired by Apple. And the beauty there was like I just learned loads about working at a kind of early stage startup from the very start to obviously to acquisition. So which primed me to start Roex, which is obviously where I am today, and I've been doing it for the last 3 years.
Yeah, well, wow, that was a brilliant pathway into it. And so, where does the name Roex come from, by the way?
Yeah, good question. So everyone thinks it's got to do with my surname being Ronan, but it actually doesn't, because the
Yeah, I
original
wonder.
the original name of the company was supposed to be Ton, Tonn, which is the Irish word for wave, sound wave, obviously.
Oh,
But because we're a spin out from Queen Mary University of London, and Josh Rice, he's actually one of the directors of the company. He was like, we can't call it Ton because he was involved in another company called Tons, Tonz. So I was like, okay, that'll be a bit confusing. So let's not call it that. And so we settled on Roex. So what Roex actually means is rounded exponential, and it's a type of filter that's used for modeling the auditory system. So there's a bit of science behind it. And it has absolutely nothing to do with my surname. It's two syllables, easy to remember. And, you can kind of, you could just Roex your mix, there's a kind of a verb to it if you want. So that
wow.
was the thinking behind it. So, yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm glad you abbreviated it and made that. That's because it's catchy, isn't it? Like
It is.
Roex a track,
And I don't get to
yeah.
explain where it comes from
When I
very often. I'm glad you asked me, because most people just assume it's like, oh God, it's his surname. He's one of those,
yeah. Oh, he's an egomaniac. He's named it after himself.
He got nothing to do with it.
I wasn't sure. I know what a nice guy you are, so I can see that. So I thought, no, it can't be that. But it's a lovely word. When I first heard of Roex Audio, I was like, what a cool name. It's like, where's that come from? That's so cool, because it's so hard to get a cool name, isn't it? Like, it's almost like the best words and the best letters have all been taken for different things. So you nailed it. It's great. So you go from like this amazing background, native and AI and the acquisition through Apple and seeing all that happen, and then you're like, you think back to like, right, remember all that stuff, all that mechanical stuff we learned, right? How can we save time with that sort of thing? And then of course, along comes Roex.
Yeah.
So how? I mean, what is the process? What was the process like for kind of, for kind of understanding how to build it? Was it like all pattern analysis and stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, so it originated from my PhD research. So by the end of my PhD, I had some like a system essentially for mixing audio, but it would only run in the lab conditions. It would it could make. I mean, this is how useless it was when it was in the lab. It was like basically it could mix maybe 4 tracks of audio. They have to be in mono, and they could only be like 20 seconds in length, and it would take a day to give you a result. Absolutely useless to anyone.
Really?
But I knew that like the math and all the kind of DSP behind it was sound. Well, not all of it, but so the idea was like I needed to take some of the stuff from my PhD, and then I had to come up with a lot of other new stuff to essentially turn it into a product. So that was a slog. I mean, that was the beginnings of it. It was like taking all this kind of code that is not very fast, and make it fast essentially, and make it useful, and then actually turning it into something someone can use on the web was another huge challenge. Because the thing is about coming from an R&D background, you're more kind of playing with scripts and algorithms to kind of make it sound good and do something. There isn't really you're not building the nice lovely front end that we all see and expect when you open up an app. So I had to like learn how to do that kind of stuff, and make it simple enough and easy enough for people to like it. So I had to obviously go out and just talk to lots of people. And a lot of it probably was like having a tight feedback loop essentially with creators, and figuring out what works and what doesn't work, what resonates. So yeah, that took a long time. I mean, that's just part and parcel of building something, especially when no one had done multi-track mixing as it. Like Lander had kind of normalized, online mastering for everyone, and I thank them for that, because they built that category. But like no one had done it for multi-track mixing, so I had to kind of come up with a way to do that. And then we got a bit of investment, hired a team, and then we started working together. And we've kind of come up with what we have today, which works quite well, and obviously is only going to get better as time goes on. So yeah, that's been kind of we're just over the 3. We've been going since May 2020 officially. So yeah, 3 years in the making, and yeah, things are good. So
Wow, that's so inspiring, man. It really is. It's so inspiring, especially
Cheers.
like when you look back to like those 4 audio tracks
Yeah.
that like takes a day. Could you imagine the YouTube advert for that, Dave? Like you can put 4 mono tracks in here, and in one day you're. It's like, it's like, sometimes like when you get an artist, it's like, I've got my song, it's like, I've just wrote it yesterday, it's ready. And I'm like, hang on. And a month later, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. It's that kind of thing. It's like that passionate point of like, right. But I guess that was a eureka moment, right? Where you go, okay, this does work.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
just
yeah.
need
It's
to
like,
kind of like,
okay, it takes a few minutes, but if you get faster, it's like, but at least a few minutes is better than waiting for like a day for someone to bring it back to you. You know what I mean? So, or if you,
that's it.
So it was definitely fast. It was like I knew then. I was like, okay, it's faster than if you hired someone effectively. So that was the kind of the starting off point. It didn't sound, and it didn't. It took ages to get it to sound great. I mean, we've worked like I hired like our head of R&D. She's a really good mix engineer. I'm not a professional mix engineer. I love it. I understand it, and I've worked in it. I've done a lot of mixes myself, and I get it. But like I've never been like a professional. I've never spent months and months. So she's brilliant. She's like, that was her background, and she ended up she was actually did a PhD at Queen Mary as well with me. So she's helped me really finesse it, make it sound professional. And then we had one of our advisors is a guy called Rich Keller. He's like 74 times platinum, multi-Grammy winning mix engineer, did all DMX stuff. So he's been working with us as well for the last 2 years. So he's helped us refine it. So we have had a Grammy winning professional effectively come along and kind of help us finesse it as well. So it's got a lot of love gone into it. A lot of like real kind of solid audio engineering experience has gone into it.
Oh God, absolutely. Well, that's amazing that all of that brain power, all of that experience that kind of just gets ploughed into it, that just helps people on such a monumental level. I mean, Dave, what you and the guys have created there, it's proper legacy stuff, mate. It really is. It's like absolute game-changing kind of, it's like, let's look ahead then finally. So what goals do you have kind of moving forward, and what might the future of kind of mixing technology look like for music creators? I mean, you've already more than set the foundations for that, what that can be and what that is now. What do you want to see kind of going forward?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, like the thing is about like we have a web app and it lives in the cloud, but the DAW is the center of gravity for everything. I mean, that's where music creation happens. And I predict it will probably be like that way for the foreseeable. I don't see how that's going to be disrupted. I mean, the DAW is the DAW, and we get that. But the problem is, like, with currently at the moment, you have to bounce out your stems and bring them to the cloud, and then you want to bring them back again. So there's a bit of a gap. So we're currently working on a version of Automix where it doesn't live in the cloud. It will run on your desktop. So you just have to bounce out your stems. And then basically you'll have like a kind of like I guess it's like a sidekick, Automix sidekick. Effectively, you can bounce your stems, get the mix, and you quickly back it open. So we're closing that gap. And we're also engaged in we've done some lightweight integrations with the DAWs, but we've actually just released what's called an SDK. So essentially anyone can take our mixing technology now and develop it into their own product. So we're working on DAW integrations at the moment. So they're all discussions we're having at the moment. So for us, I mean, it's the best day out. Because imagine you're in Ableton or wherever, and instead of having to bounce everything out, you just push a button and it just sets all the EQs, the compressors, everything is set. You're like, oh, I mean, that's amazing. It's the best place for it. It's the best place to be. So that's where we see the future of the technology, just being fully integrated into a DAW. A bit further out then is like the same, like once we're in the DAW, we can also be in things like Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, those types of things, because essentially a lot of the problems you have with film and TV and kind of any kind of audiovisual production, it's a lot of the same problems, like getting the dialogue sounding correct, balancing out the background with the music, all that kind of stuff, and video games as well. So that's another route we're taking. So because it's a lot of the same process as for music is in in video games and film and TV. So yeah, that's kind of the future for us.
But I'm so glad you mentioned. I was just about to ask you about games because the growth of the indie market now in the games world is fascinating. It's just exponential growth, and like they need this.
We've already got people on the platform who've like, because I talk to, not as much as anymore because I'm a bit more like, because I've got a team around me, but like when I was talking to one of our initials, like there was a lot of composers who were like, yeah, look, this is game music, I need it to be quickly mixed for my game. I'm like, amazing. So that's kind of got my gears turning. Obviously I was like, oh yeah, there is a whole market here, you know. So that's an interesting one for us as well.
Good for you. Wow. Dave, thank you so much for like talking to me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And educating the listeners on what this is all about, and to not be scared of it as effectively, and to just kind of embrace it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. I got to explain more things a bit more in depth than I normally do. So yeah, really enjoyed the conversation.
And we know the origins of the name as well.
Yes, exactly.
The truth is, you just named it after yourself.
Yeah. It's a cover. It's just a cover story. It's a cover story.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Top man.
Pleasure.
Oh, what a good guy David is. What a true gent, a good, fun guy to be around. Sorry, my laugh sound is very, very high-pitched there at the end of that conversation. I don't quite know why. I sounded like I was giggling like a little schoolgirl. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that conversation. There were many things that I found particularly fascinating in that conversation with Dave. Perhaps one of the things that was most interesting are his plans going forward, especially on the subject of door integration. By his own admission, Dave said, sometimes to take those stems out of your door into another platform, it can kind of slow the process a little bit. And actually, once this kind of software is licensed within the digital audio workstation, I think it might be a bit of a game changer. But it's already a game changer. But perhaps with that moving forward, we could totally start to see a new way of workflow inside door technology, regardless of what door you use. So, really this is kind of catering for people that do mix and people that don't mix. And I think that's the kind of the way to look at it, really. Anyway, I hope that's been useful. I wish you a great day ahead. Until next time, may the force be with you.